Good evening. We're in Luke chapter 20, starting in verse 9. Part B, as it were, continuing from where I left off last time. The story of the corrupt farmhands. Jesus is still in the temple, telling the people stories, teaching. So, a man planted a vineyard. This vineyard man handed it over to farm hands and went off on a trip. He was gone a long time after planting that vineyard. Then he sent a servant back to the farm hands to collect the profits. But they beat this servant up and sent him off empty-handed. The vineyard man decided to try again and sent another one of his servants. That one, the farm hands beat black and blue and sent off empty-handed as well. So he tried a third time. They worked that servant over from head to foot and dumped him in the street. And then the owner of the vineyard said, I know what I'll do. I'll send my beloved son. They're bound to respect my son. But when the farmhands saw him coming, they quickly put their heads together. This is our chance. This is the heir. Let's kill him and have it all to ourselves. So they killed him and threw him over the fence. What do you think the owner of the vineyard will do? Right. He'll come and get rid of everyone. Then he'll assign the care of the vineyard to others. And those who were listening said, Oh no! He'd never do that. But Jesus didn't back down. Why then do you think this was written? That stone the masons threw out, it's now the cornerstone? Anyone falling over that stone will break every bone in his body. If the stone falls on anyone, he'll be smashed to smithereens. The religious scholars and high priests wanted to lynch him on the spot, but they were intimidated by public opinion. They knew the story was about them. Okay, so that's who this was about. I mean, why else would the audience respond saying, oh no, he'd never do that? Because Jesus' previous stories went just the same way, and he was typically the person in charge of things in the stories was typically harsher on servants like this than this one was. All right. Moving on. Paying taxes, watching for a chance to get him, they, the religion scholars and high priests, sent spies who posed as honest inquirers, hoping to trick him into saying something that would get him in trouble with the law. So they asked him, Teacher, we know you're honest and straightforward when you teach, that you don't pander to anyone, but teach the way of God accurately. Tell us, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? He knew they were laying a trap for him, and said, Show me a coin. Now this engraving, whose does it look like, and what does it say? And they said, Caesar. And Jesus said, Then give Caesar what is his, and give God what is his. Try as they might, they couldn't trap him into saying anything incriminating. His answer caught them off guard and left them speechless. All intimacies will be with God. Some Sadducees came up. This is the Jewish party that denies any possibility of resurrection. We don't know a lot more about them other than that. At least I don't. But it's nice that at this point, the author at least gives some context to who this party of Jews are. Because the other party is the Pharisees, who do believe in a resurrection, more of a bodily resurrection than a spiritual one or a ghostly one, as it were, as far as I've come to understand. But the Pharisees are the party that Jesus typically is debating and at odds with, and yet he is so much a Pharisee in the way that he lives, teaches, and etc. So, the Sadducees now, they asked, "Teacher, all right, Moses wrote that if a man dies and leaves a wife but no child, his brother is obligated to marry her and give her children. Well, there were 7 brothers once upon a time. The first took a wife. He died childless. The second married her and died. Then the third, and eventually all 7 had their turn, but no child. After all that, the wife died. That wife, now, in the resurrection, whose wife is she?" I mean, all 7 married her. And Jesus said, "Marriage is a major preoccupation here, but not there. Those who are included in the resurrection of the dead will no longer be concerned with marriage, nor, of course, with death. They will have better things to think about, if you can believe it. All ecstasies and intimacies then will be with God." Even Moses exclaimed about resurrection at the burning bush, saying, "God, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob." God isn't the God of dead men, but of the living. To him, all are alive. Some of the religion scholars said, "Teacher, that's a great answer." For a while anyway, no one dared put questions to him. I guess he made the Pharisees happy in that one. And then he put a question to them. How is it that they say, Pharisees, Sadducees, religious priests, and scholars, how is it that they say that the Messiah is David's son? In the book of Psalms, David clearly says, "God said to my master, 'Sit here at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet.'" David here designates the Messiah as my master. So how can the Messiah also be his son? With everybody listening, Jesus spoke to his disciples. "Watch out for the religion scholars. They love to walk around in academic gowns, preen in the radiance of public flattery, bask in prominent positions, sit at the head table at every church function, and all the time they are exploiting the weak and the helpless. The longer their prayers, the worse they get, but they'll pay for it in the end."